Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Speedrun Insider All Stars. My name is CJ. It's all good. Thank you so much for joining me this week, as you do every week. You know, you like the show, listen, share it with your friends, download it for your neighbor, your neighbor's kids. The kids can't do it on their own. They have little fingers. They don't know how to work the podcasting apps. Help the kids out. Rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. All of those things. Keep doing the things that you're doing so we can keep the show free and clear of sponsorships. I did get your feedback about the mid-roll ads, and I have contacted the podcast distributor, and we will not be running mid-roll ads anymore on the podcasting feed. If you listen to the show on YouTube, you will be happy to know that you only get ads at the beginning, but you can alleviate that by being a YouTube premium subscriber, which is what I do. Or an ad block, although I feel weird advocating for ad block as someone whose livelihood depends on it. Speaking of people whose livelihood depends on you not installing ad block, I have with me the person who is the second most downloaded podcast ever, the second most watched video ever, and he got first place in the Speedrun Insider All Stars voting poll. You got first place out of 13 options, and it was a fierce poll. It was not a lightly contested poll. And I know you didn't vote for yourself because I didn't send it to you. It is TomatoAnus. How are you doing, my friend?
I I didn't realize you were talking about me until the very end there when you said my name. I'm good. I'm good. How about you?
Oh, I'm living the dream. Another day in paradise. I'd complain, but who'd listen? The last time you were on the show, you were episode 3 or 4, one of those. It was very early. I should know this because it comes up every episode. What number you were? While I vamp, how have you been the past year? Obviously, we're still in pandemic America.
Um, I've been good the past year. Also, I was episode 5. I can't believe you'd forget. Um, I totally didn't just Google that right now. Um, I've been good though. I've been super busy, balancing work and personal life, but good. It like for as um turbulent as life has been for everyone the past year and a half, I can't complain where I'm at right now.
Yeah, no, I think that it's remarkable how in year 2 of pandemic, people have found a way to kind of be stable. Obviously, there's tons of people still out of work. There's tons of people displaced by the very crazy housing market at the moment. The eviction moratorium ended. I don't mean to make light of it. But for the people that were mostly affected by the social implications of COVID, I think it's interesting that in year 2, people have found a way to kind of like deal with it, you know?
Yeah, that I was actually just thinking about that like a week or two ago. Because I got together with some friends over the past weekend, and like there's so many things that we take into account nowadays before we hang out with people. Like that would have been like actual discussions a year ago, like things like, oh, have we been quarantining, stuff like that. Who have I seen lately? Who might have been exposed to like you take into account all those types of things nowadays when you're making plans, but you just kind of like check them off in the back of your head and like they're not always things you talk about. It's kind of crazy how we've adapted to that.
It's such a unconscious change, but it's such a necessary one. And I know that people are like, they don't like the masks, they don't like this, they don't like that, and whatever. That's not the conversation we're having. But I think what's interesting is that I haven't been sick, period, since we started this whole lockdown and masking procedures. The more mindfulness about washing your hands and the hygiene and the bacterial soap and everything. I have not gotten sick at all, like, whatsoever, and that is actually not that's a great thing for me. That's all the incentive in the world. I used to be good for 2 colds and a cough a year.
Yeah, It's funny how that works, right? Like it's almost as if quarantining works with preventing the spread of disease.
It's almost like that's the case, yes. It's almost like people weren't washing their hands before. It's a claim that I don't feel confident enough to make to anybody, but I've definitely been to GDQs and met people and shaken their hands. And I'll never forget, someone came up to me. It was the first time anyone ever asked me to sign anything. It was the first, and like I've done it twice, right? So it's not like I'm the humble brag. But someone asked me to sign something for Speed Docs, and they already got CC to sign it. And I shook their hand, and it was like shaking a fish. Not in the way of like
Oh.
it, not in the way of like it was like wobbling in my hand. It was like wet. And I'm like, this is you. This is you.
Oh no.
You remember those commercials from the 90s where it's like, this is your brain on drugs, and they crack an egg in a pan and it's like
Yes.
frying? It's like, this is your hand without soap.
Oh, just slap a mackerel into someone's hand for a handshake. Ugh.
Yo, hit me with that lake trout.
Oh
It's like you get
man.
it was like a layer of slime or mucus, like they were a frog.
I'm gagging over here. Jesus.
You know,
I
I
thought
think
I thought initially
good.
you could be like, yeah, I shook their hand and after we shook their hands, I had some of their lunch in my hand. Like I thought you were gonna go that route.
Oh,
Though honestly, what you said, infinitely worse.
I've been told recently that I am the undisputed lord of sentences that haven't been said before, but now will never be unsaid. So I
Eh,
take that with high praise, you know?
I'm not about to argue against that statement.
I don't remember what it was. We were talking about something recently, and I thought of you. And I thought of you because that story was at AGDQ 2020, right? That was the
Mhm,
last time that I really felt like I got to socialize with a large group of my friends. Um and in a way, and not to get too personal, but in a way, as my friends grew up and grew out of town and went around the country, as I'm happy that they did, I don't have that core retainer of people local to me that I'm close with, right? And
mhm,
so a lot of my friends, just even not outside of GDQ, most of my friends don't live here. So I haven't really been seeing them, but we were talking about it the other day, and this is the conversation as it pertains to you. I remember I met with a bunch of people that were making content at the time, and I remember I wrote all their names down. And I actually found that notebook. I have it over here on my desk. I found that notebook of all the people that I met who were making content at the time. And the list of people that have made speedrun content, history content, explanation style content, visual stuff, any kind of speedrun and like consumables has tripled. I mean, the people that are on this list, it's like some of them don't even do it anymore. And the people that are doing it, there's so many people. It's like there's been an explosion post
yeah.
AGDQ 2020. I wonder why.
It's
But
been pretty cool. I've been loving to see it.
yeah, it's interesting too, right? Because I don't know how jaded your audience is, but everyone just assumes that we hate it, right? Like for me, it's like, oh, well, you don't. This guy made the. I'm like, cool, man. It was a cool video. I don't know. What do you want? I don't know Billy Bob, but he made a cool video about this game I didn't know about. Did I lose you?
Sorry, no, I got lost in thought and I was like, shit, what do I say? That is about as candid as a moment as you can get with me.
I love it. I love it. You want me to set you up again?
Um, sure, sure. I wouldn't be opposed to that staying in if you want, like, if you wanted to trim down on the dead air that was there. That was a solid like 15, 20 seconds of nothing being said.
I was like, man, did I not give him a good enough serve there? Did I not
I
pitch it
know,
right? It was
I got lost in my thought and I was like, shit, what do I say? Oh my God, it's been so long. It's been like 18. Oh my God, now it's been like 20. It just spiraled.
it was a problem that begat itself. Okay, so God, I've missed you, pal. It's been too long.
Oh
Oh my
man.
god. So so talk about there's an explosion of content creators,
Yeah.
right? A lot of
Yeah.
them are making content. I guess when people are coming at me and are like saying, "Well, what do you think about so and so making a history video?" And I'm like, "Well, that's cool, man. I don't know. I watched it. It was cool." Like, what do you think
Yeah.
about the influx of I guess in your particular case, speedrun explained like verbatim what they call it
Mhm.
videos.
I think that the more speedrunning content that's out there, the better for the community. The more eyes you get on speedrunning, as it's covered in a positive light, like the better, you know? I don't think that one person owns a topic. I don't think that one person owns a video idea. Everyone, like, you could have 5 people make a video about the same exact thing, and while like the objective information in it might be the same in each of the 5 videos, you're gonna have 5 different videos with 5 different visions, 5 different unique like takes and looks. Like, I think that the more the merrier, honestly. I don't think that I own the Speedrun Explained title. Like, sure, I include it in my videos in
Mhm.
all caps. That's more of just like a branding type thing. But like, anyone can make a Speedrun Explained video. Anyone can make a world record progression video. I hate seeing people online say, "Oh, this person's trying to be you," or "Oh, you're trying to be this person. You're just trying to make that type of content." It's like, no, no one is like sure you can rip things off of people, but at the end of the day, it's not like people are trying to rip each other off in the speedrunning sphere. As far as I'm aware, the speedrunning content creation sphere, everything's fair game to make videos about. No one owns a video idea, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree. And to add on to that, I really like your point. The more content that gets made, I mean, high tides raise all ships. You
Hmm.
know, I think that having more is not a problem. Now, at some point, we'll hit a critical mass, right? And then, like, we'll just have too much, and then nobody will be making videos anymore. That's like a later problem. I actually don't even think it's a bad problem because that's like a market driven thing. Like,
Hmm.
if people stop watching the videos that we make, then we have to make different videos. That's just how it works.
Hmm.
And then we get, the stage of our career where people go, "Oh, TomatoAnus doesn't make videos like he used to. He doesn't make. I remember that show he made. There, yeah, we can make videos like that. Why doesn't he make videos like that anymore?" It's because people stop watching them, right?
Yeah.
It's like every YouTube creator comes into that. Like, I remember, like, I was a big like Rooster Teeth fan for a while, like Achievement Hunter. And that's
Hmm.
everyone. That's every old salty boy out there. I guess salty lasts too. Girls can be salty. And just like, "Oh, they don't make videos like they used to." It's like, man, are they the same people that they were 10 years ago? If they were, I'd be very disturbed,
Yeah,
right?
that's a good point. Like, everyone evolves over time. People, like, their interests and tastes and what they think is good content comes and changes. Their priorities change. Like, if someone were making the exact same videos 10 years apart from each other, I think then there more than likely is underlying issues there that need to be addressed, you know?
Yeah, either they're really good with who they are as a person,
Mm.
or something has to change, like for
Yeah.
their own sake.
Yeah.
And I think I'm 27, right? Obviously, I'm not the same person I was at 17, right? So to expect the content that someone makes 10 years ago to be indicative or reflective of the person they are now, it just kind of is. I mean, it's off. It's a poor. To expect the content that someone makes 10 years ago to be reflective and indicative of the people that they are now. I mean, it's just asking for to be let down, right?
Yeah.
Because who is that? You
Yeah.
know?
And then, like, in a similar vein, when was the last time you went back and tried watching a video that you watched, or like one of your favorite videos like from 10 years ago? Like, even like
Oh
your own
yeah.
taste. Oh my God. Like, I'm trying to think what it was. Oh, my friend and I we're looking up. We were talking about old games, and we were like, "Oh, remember that game? Like it was called like Sumatori Dreams or whatever." And we pulled up a video that we watched all the time back in the day, like when we were like start of high school, and
Mm-hmm.
watched this video that we watched on end. And we're like, "Man, this is not that good anymore." You know, like even the tastes of like the viewers change over time as well.
Absolutely. I remember I'm going to expose myself a little bit for the content. I remember that, and it to this day, it still kind of is. But I remember 2012, I went to the movies and I saw a movie that I would proudly tell everyone for a while, a
I guess.
long time, that it was my favorite movie. You are allowed to guess.
Oh shoot, you said 2012?
Yes.
Shoot, I had a 2011 guess.
What was your 2011
I was gonna
guess?
guess Sucker Punch.
Okay. I went and saw that movie, and I swear, like I was the youngest person in the theater. Everyone else in that movie theater was really old to be at like not really old, like they were in like 40s or 50s, and I'm like, I wonder why they're here. Now as an adult, I know exactly why they're there, and I'm a little disturbed. No, that's not my favorite movie. My favorite movie is unabashedly, it was for a long time. It still kind of is. That's My Boy. It is a
Oh my
Adam
gosh.
Sandler, Andy
Yo,
Samberg movie.
okay. Yes, I know exactly that movie. Okay. I Can we talk about that movie for like
Yes, of course.
5 minutes? Okay. Because I know like three people who have seen this movie. And like the shared experience, at least from the conversations I've had, you start
Mhm.
watching it and you're like, this is so stupid. This has to be one of the stupider movies I've ever seen. But then afterwards, you're like, why didn't he just get another burrito? It just becomes so much funnier in hindsight, at least for me. Like for weeks I was quoting like, why didn't you just get another burrito? Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. I think a lot of that movie like aged so well after the fact in my mind. I haven't watched it since it came out, so I don't know how well it's aged to this day, but I loved that movie after I watched it. Not so much while I was watching it, but oh my gosh, that movie, what a blast. Or like the another thing to this day I sometimes quote with my friends is like if I'm approaching a car, I like jokingly slide across the hood and go Dukes of Hazzard because he does that in that movie.
So I'm gonna run down the plot of this movie. It is, by the way, considered one of the worst films ever made. It is.
It's
It
so
has
bad.
that under. It's so bad. When I saw this, this is to give you an idea. When I saw this, I thought this was the best movie I ever saw, and I watched a lot of movies. Like I was really into film, and it was my favorite movie. Probably not one of the best movies I ever saw. I probably didn't think that, but it was my favorite. Right? When I came to school and I wrote an article about that for the school newspaper. I loved this movie. This movie made me cry laughing. And I'm not even a big Adam Sandler guy, but I'm going to tell you the plot of this movie just to give you everyone an idea who hasn't seen the movie what it's about. So it's Adam Sandler, and when he's a kid, as a kid, he's hot for a teacher, and he gets detention, and the teacher's like, "What do you mean when you say all those things?" And it's like, "What?" And then the teacher has sex with the kid, right? Kid Adam Sandler. It turns into a pregnancy, and then like child Adam Sandler raises baby Andy Samberg, and Adam Sandler goes on to have like some fame, right? He's on a show, and like then he's like a D-list star as he's an adult and he's in debt, and so they're like, oh well, here's what we'll do. We'll have a reunion special, right? And so they're like, yeah. So I'll reunite with my son and we'll broadcast it and we'll reunite with my lover, Miss McGarrigle.
How do you
and
remember her name?
dude, I told you it's my favorite movie. There's so so they're in the Vanilla Ice is in the movie.
Vanilla Ice
And
is his best friend in the movie.
yes,
It's
Uncle
incredible.
Vanny. James Caan
Yes.
is in that movie. Yes, he
Oh my
plays
God,
this old Irish pug minister.
I just remembered when Andy Samberg, as an adult, meets Vanilla Ice for the first time as an adult. He's like, Uncle Vanny, you were Vanilla Ice this whole time? It's like he was a kid, he didn't know.
Nugget pocket, dude. My favorite
Oh my
scene in that
God.
whole movie, right? Because and then it's like it has a couple really gross turns. His wife is cheating on him with her own brother,
I
and then
forgot about that.
he shits his pants at the jail. Susan Sarandon is the teacher. Dan Patrick's the interviewer. Father McNally is who James Caan plays. Um, Leighton Meester's in that movie. Will Forte's in that movie. Nick Swartzen's in that movie. They go to a they go to a strip club for the bachelor party. I mean, it's like the film literally goes so off the rails from its original concept, and it's still fun. And
Yeah.
so there's a scene at the end where he goes to Vanilla Ice's house, which is in the projects. It's like this like rundown old like motel style apartment. And he's like, and so he goes, Vanny, do you still got the 5.0? And he's like, yeah. So they get in there, they drive the car, and they're listening to Everything Louder Than Everything Else by Meatloaf. Then it goes to, Ice Ice Baby, obviously, because Vanilla Ice is in the movie, right? Gotta have a Vanilla Ice song. And they get to a replica of Fenway Park, which this guy owns. He owns a replica of Fenway Park. And so Vanilla Ice is at the top of the big green monster, which is this huge green wall. And he's like, and he jumps and he eats shit. And at the
Oh wait,
bottom,
hold on
Adam
a second.
Sandler.
First you're forgetting about the part where they're driving, listening to the music, and then the car breaks down or something. So they
Oh,
get
yeah.
out. They get out and put out they're like, wait, the tunes, and they get out like a Walkman and each put in
They got
one
the Walkman.
earbud and are running while they each have one earbud in while they're doing this.
Yeah, that's so great, dude. So Vanilla Ice jumps, eats shit. He's at the bottom, and he's like, Adam Sandler comes out a door at the bottom, and he goes, "What are you doing, guy? You jumped?" every time,
Oh my God.
every time I see someone eat shit, I hear Adam Sandler in my head going, "What are you doing, guy? You jumped?"
Oh my God. That's so good. And
And he
that's like
does the Adam Sandler voice the whole movie. It's just
yeah, he
like so
does.
bad. It's
You
so
do that.
bad.
I gotta say, you do that voice really well. That's actually very impressive.
No, I can't. I can't do a check in front of. Oh, maybe a little one. He takes a fat ass bong rip, and then he's like embarrassed because Andy Samberg saw him take it. So Andy Samberg gets a tattoo of New Kids on the Block when he's a kid, and when he grows up and he hits puberty, their heads get all big and warped because he grew
They
like
look
a
like
foot.
aliens.
So I brought up That's My Boy to talk about it
Yeah.
because it's not fair to judge me based on what my favorite movie was when I was 17. But it might be totally fair to judge me based on what my favorite movie was at 17. I don't know. I
Before we
think.
get off the topic of That's My Boy, I would just like to give the full context of the burrito thing.
Oh yes,
Because
go
I
ahead,
just I
please.
just gotta talk about this part. It's so freaking good, at least in my head. So
Hmm.
like the whole point of the movie is Adam Sandler's trying to like get in good favor with Andy Samberg, who's his son, who kind of estranged at this point. Get in good favor with him, so he'll agree to do the reunion thing. And Andy Samberg is actually getting married. It's like the week before the wedding or something like that, and Adam Sandler shows up. Something along those lines. Jump in and correct me if I'm wrong. But they
100%.
then yeah, so then Andy Samberg is embarrassed to like that, and Adam Sandler's his dad, so he doesn't want to tell his wife's family that he's his dad. Maybe he made a lie that his dad died or something. I don't exactly remember that.
I
Um,
think that happened, and then it's like,
okay.
this is my best
Yes.
friend.
Yes, he
Yeah.
says they're best friends, and they throughout the movie like several times, like two or three times, they're asked how they met. And Adam Sandler every time he's like, we were standing next to the subway and he was eating a burrito and he dropped it on the tracks and he jumped down to get the burrito and a train was coming and I jumped onto the tracks and threw him off and saved him. And every time he tells that story, whoever they're telling the story to looks at Andy Samberg and goes, "Why didn't you get another burrito?" And it's just so funny because they do that like 2 or 3 times throughout the
Mhm.
movie, and it's just, I love, the comedy behind just, like, repeating the same exact line multiple times, like, with, time in between. I just love that.
They have the scene where so there's two scenes that stand out in my mind now. He's like, "Do you have any kids, Donnie?" And he's like, "Yeah, I have a son. He's a dick. A private eye, that is. Uh, he's the hairiest dick you ever met." And then there's another scene. So they're staying at this like really bougie New England style like mansion, right? And the guy, it's Todd's boss's house, right? So Todd Peterson, and his real name is Han Solo Burger, right? So like they're staying at his boss's house, and there's a scene where like Adam Sandler's like, I gotta do something, and he finds a picture of the grandmother in the old timey bathing suit, and he j- and he j- he jerks off to the photo, which is funny. And then there's all these tissues laying around the next morning, and the grandma picks it up, and then later on in the movie the grandma shows up wearing the old timey bathing suit. And he goes, "Oh, she's got the old timey bathing suit on." That movie,
Oh
dude.
my god.
That
I'm
movie.
glad that we, have a shared affinity for that movie, for
There
better
was
or worse.
there was less than zero chance, by the way, that I knew that you knew that movie. Less than zero chance.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like,
there's so much in there. Like Rex Ryan. Rex Ryan is the bookie, and he's like,
yeah, I forgot
come on,
about that. Oh
Donnie,
my
don't
god.
go touching my Tom Brady poster."
Yeah, they make him a huge Tom Brady fan in it. Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. I completely forgot about the plot twist near the end. I completely forgot about the plot twist near the end that you mentioned earlier, that it ends up where Andy Samberg's bride to be is sleeping with her brother and they find out. It's just like, what? Like that movie on like its premise alone is kind of like is a pretty twisted idea in nature, but it really goes places with just messed up ideas.
It's one of those things where, like, and this is maybe a higher concept than this movie deserves, but I'll do it anyway. Like, one of the reasons that people can get away with really gratuitous violence is that the people that they are exacting the violence against really deserve it. You think about Quentin Tarantino movies, you know, he stabs these rapists with a katana, right?
Mhm.
In Pulp Fiction, in Reservoir Dogs, the guy's a sadist and that he gets shot. Vega.
Mhm.
They kill Nazis in gruesome ways. They kill
Very
KKK members,
gruesome.
slave owners. Hateful
Yeah.
Eight is pretty bad. Like ruthless. Outlaws. And then in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
Yes.
they killed the Manson family. Right. So all of this stuff is being and the audience has this like subconscious equivalency where it's like, okay, well, the violence I'm seeing is really bad and has no place in our society. However, they're killing people that are objectively worse, right? So there's this equation. It's like we remove them from society. Now you can take that same concept and apply it to That's My Boy, and that the only way that you can honestly think that anything that Adam Sandler, who has basically done 30 years of child abuse to his son, has any moral high ground is if his son's wife was sleeping with her brother. Like, that's like you have to make the scales tipped so far to make it
That's a good
even
point.
plausible that he would leave the wedding calling himself Han Solo Burger with his dad and Vanilla Ice in tow. Also, they have Willis from Different Strokes, and I guarantee you, none of you know who Willis is.
Well,
Maybe
I
you
mean,
know
like
him
I
because of Arnold, right?
yeah. Um, I mean, that's a good point that I mean, also people probably know who Willis is just because of what you're talking about, Willis.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
that's
So they
about
know
that's probably the
Willis.
extent of it. Yeah, they know the name that he
It's like
exists.
the damn Daniel kid, right? Like,
Yes.
damn Daniel, he's doing all the
Yes.
work. No one
Yes,
knows the kid's
exactly.
name.
Exactly. But yeah, no, that's a good point. I never really thought about that with that movie. Like, they were probably sitting in the writers' room and it's like, man, Donnie's a pretty messed up character. What's the worst thing we could have the wife do to make people side with Donnie and say that he's right? It's like, sleep with her brother. Like, that's the brother character was probably a late stage addition as well, you know? Like, just throw him in there so they can actually have her doing that at the end with him.
There's that scene at the altar. They're outside, and he goes, I forget the name of the brother. Oh, it's gonna bother me. Chad, right? The guy's name is Chad. He's like, Chad, cheating is fucked up. Sorry, cheating is wrong. And he's like, uh-huh. Because like Chad is like hung on everything Donnie says the whole movie. And he goes, but incest is fucked up. And he starts crying, and he's like, he's gonna tell him about he's gonna tell mommy about secret tickle time. You have a
Oh,
name
fuck.
for it? People
This
don't
is
need to see
like
the movie now.
a blast from the past hearing you quote this movie because like I remember that. I could never tell you in a million years though that they called it secret tickle time. But you saying that just now, I was like, that was what they called it. Oh my God, I remember that so well now.
It was something, right? It was
Yeah.
something. I haven't seen that movie in 5 years, if I saw it in 5 years, right? But it's just I have all of this, like, permanently ingrained into my brain. Um, it's so we got onto this topic because we were talking about speedrun content.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that, to bring it, yeah, believe it or not, I think I can bring it back. I think that, you know, like there will be a point where there's too much and people don't want to watch anymore, right? But it'll really affect the people on the end of getting started, right? It's not going to really hurt people that are already going. It will a little bit, but it's going to hurt people that are trying to get into it. And then the people that are in it, you know? So, I mean, it happens with everything, right? Like there's binging with Babish, and then there's 1,000 cooking channels where they point the camera at their torso, cook with their hands, with the camera in the front, the smooth jazz in the background, right? Like, I don't think people consciously copy style, but they unconsciously copy it, and that kind of really dilutes the pool. Like I remember I was watching someone, and I really love binging with Babish, and I've kind of worn off just because it's like how many times can I see him make a cheeseburger kind of thing.
Hmm.
But there was a guy who just is making all of binging with Babish's videos with his own spin, but it's the same style, and it's so like weird, you know. And it's not criticism per se. I'm not saying that you can't do that, right? Because he was inspired by somebody and he got the idea from somewhere. But it's like you can't even put your own spin on it, you know? That's where I kind of draw the line where I'm like, "Hey, more content is good, but try and make it your own thing, you know, at least."
Yeah. In a similar note, I kind of I guess I have a question for you that just popped into my head. Like, what channels do you all at Speed Docs look to or look did you guys look to the most when you were getting started up as kind of more inspiration and kind of be like, let's take that and put our own twist on it. Like my instinct guess would be summoning Salt, since he's the world record progression guy. But I was curious if that was true or if there were other channels that played a factor into your kind of molding the channel into what it is today or what.
Yeah, so for the idea to make the video, right? To make the first video, to make everything. Like it would be a lie to say that we were not inspired by what Summoning Salt had done. And specifically, we said we're going to make a video for the first one, the original Snap video that was on CC's channel. We said we're going to make a video that Summoning Salt will never make, right? And that's how we're going to do it. Now, I know CC watches a lot of short form video essays. I didn't. I was more of a in the theater watching documentaries kind of kid. So at the time I was kind of getting new into watching like YouTube video essays. And the things that really stood out to me were I wanted to hear from the people who were doing the things more than I wanted to hear from like Ken Burns, right? And if you don't know who Ken Burns is, the audience, Ken Burns is like a famous American documentarian. He did baseball and he did jazz. He's doing one. It's coming out shortly. By the time this podcast comes out, it'll probably already be out. It's about Muhammad Ali, right? Which will be really powerful. But it's in terms of like, I don't know. I can't speak for CC where he got his inspiration when he was writing the initial scripts and how that all happened. But visually, I was very much inspired by Defunct Land, which
Mm.
they were doing the Jim Henson series, which I adored. And I highly recommend. I was just into watching whatever the current, recommended, documentaries were on Netflix. I watched a bunch of nature stuff, to try and get an idea for tone and when to cut, and like a lot of it's feeling. For me anyway, a lot of it is feeling. I don't know. I'd be curious what your answer is for when you edit, but I just remember like watching like what's another channel that I can call out. I'm looking at my subscriber list. I really like Secret Base, which used to
Yes.
be Sports Nation or SB
Yes, there were
Nation.
Sports Nation. Yeah, SB Nation, I believe.
Yeah. Their shows are fantastic. I watch all of them. They just did a whole series on the Atlanta Falcons. They did a whole series about the Cleveland Cavaliers. And
Mariners.
and also at the time, like the Mariners was fantastic. If you
That one was
guys
so good.
That one was really good. And also really, really inspired. And we actually made a video that was really in the vein of it's not up anymore, so I don't want to talk about it. But we made a video that was very much directly inspired by The Last Dance, which was the Michael Jordan documentary.
Mm.
So that's kind of
Yeah.
where I drew inspiration. I love Dark Side of the Ring is a great series. It's a documentary series about wrestling. I think that the answer is that people expect me to be like, oh, it was Apollo Legend and excuse me, it was Apollo Legend and Easy Escape, and I'm like, I honestly didn't really watch them. I still don't. I still don't watch Easy Escape really. Or a lot of like, I don't want to say contemporary, but like daily or regular content like that. I kind of like history stuff.
Mhm.
So I took more inspiration from mediums that I was more familiar with, and that meant mostly off of YouTube. I'm curious where you drew inspiration, and also sneaking in my question about how it feels when how do you edit? Is it like you take a very technical approach? Is it by feeling? Do you
Mm.
do a lot of recuts?
Give me 1 second. Let me make a note of the two things that being talked about right now.
You got it. Gives me time to clear my unusual throat. Yo, double first try? What the fuck?
So, first I'd like to say, um, this popped into my head when you mentioned his name earlier. Ken Burns, fantastic documentarian. Not fantastic haircut. I'm not here if you've seen what he looks like. I just needed to get that out there. Ken, please stop dyeing your hair. It does not match the way you look. Just accept the likely natural gray that is there. I'm sure it looks fantastic, but what you got going right now, personally, I'm not feeling it. If you're feeling it and you feel good with it, keep rocking it. Forget I said anything, but I was always kind of put off by his haircut.
I'm gonna give you the deepest of deep cuts on Ken Burns. You ready?
Okay.
This is how
Yeah.
crazy deep my Simpsons knowledge is. On the season 14, episode 10 episode of The Simpsons, Pray Anything is an episode where Homer sues the church after realizing that prayer will solve all of his problems, and he wins the church in a court settlement, and then, like, quote unquote, God leaves Springfield. One of his first tests in praying is that he is watching a Ken Burns documentary about the life of Ken Burns, and Ken Burns says, I love baseball and jazz. They both soon consumed my life. I never had time for a proper haircut. So that is
That's
my
funny.
super deep cut for
I
Ken
didn't know
Burns.
that's funny. Similarly, you mentioned Last Dance. Um, and on the topic of Ken Burns as well, I will get back into the how do I edit in
Yeah, of course.
inspiration, but with Ken Burns, did you see what he said about The Last Dance? How he refuses to watch it?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if this has changed, but when The Last Dance came out, Ken Burns said that he refused to watch it because of the fact that Michael Jordan played such an influence in the production of the show, and I believe he was an executive producer. And Ken Burns says that's not true documentary making. Like that's not like that is by default a biased viewpoint, even if it does cover Michael's faults and like the turmoil that he went through in the 90s and to this day. Like that is still a skewed viewpoint that you're even starting with. So he refused to watch it. He said that that's not proper documentary making.
So I think that when I found that out, I think it might even be Michael Jordan's production company, right?
Mm.
Like it might go that deep. I'm not sure. I know he's definitely an EP, but isn't that the icing? Isn't that like the Ouroboros on the whole piece? This was
Mm.
another opportunity to dunk on everyone. It was another opportunity for him and his ego. It doesn't, like, it shows him as the ultimate competitor, right? It does. But it also shows him as a lunatic.
It does. It does. And it does show how compulsive his gambling was, like how he would gamble with the security guards about heads or tails this coin, stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
Um yeah,
He
no.
lost a game of quarters and, like, didn't talk to the guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe it's because I'm from Chicago, like the Chicago area, and I'm a Bulls fan. Like to me, that was like general knowledge, like that Michael Jordan is like that. I'm not sure if that's kind of just like a word of mouth thing in my area, similar to how Scottie Pippen is notorious for not tipping at restaurants. He's called No Tippin' Pippen in the area.
Yeah.
Um, like I'm not sure if like that stuff was just word of mouth or if that's like very much public knowledge about Michael Jordan. So he felt like people already know this. I'll include it. But yeah, no, it is a super it's very like especially when you look at it under the lens of like the production side of things and the choices that they made of things to include or exclude. It does add just a whole nother layer of complexity and just very like intrigue to this documentary that is The Last Dance. But yeah, that's just wanted to I like how we're just kind of skating along from topic to topic right now.
Hey, listen, it's very organic. I think we have
Yeah,
real chemistry, you know?
I do too. I have a background in chemistry and we have it.
After the show, I
Um,
have a video I want to send you about chemistry, but go ahead.
all right. So getting back then to kind of the root of the discussion, for editing, I wouldn't say it's hard to say. I would say it's more based on feeling. Um, I don't know how to put into words how I know something's right when I'm editing, but I sure as heck know when something's wrong. And I'll pretty much, if I edit something and it feels wrong, I just redo it until it feels right. It's very much based on feeling. But for me, the big thing is I try to present as much information as possible, and I edit with that goal in mind to present as much information as possible without diluting much, without having it be too hard to follow. To me, I would rather have a video with a ton of information that's easy to follow than a video with all the information that's difficult to follow. So I try to edit with keeping in mind that it has to flow nicely. Things are easy to understand. Like last year, I released a video. I want to say it was in April that it, no, it was March, end of March that it released. It was my Mirror's Edge video. That was my first video where I started putting text on the screen as I was explaining things. Like, now we're going to be doing this glitch, and that glitch, the name comes up on screen. Because I realized, like, being able to, like, just based on my experience, if I'm listening to a YouTube video, I retain much less than if it's also on screen. So I started like implementing both aspects of it, the sight and the sound, just trying to make things as easy to follow, easy to retain as possible. That's just kind of my editing mantra.
Hmm.
Um, as for, and like a lot of that, the way I present the info does play into inspiration. Um, and that'll make more sense when I'm done talking about the inspiration thing, and I'll circle back. But for inspiration, I don't know if there's really a specific YouTube channel out there in terms of speedrunning or really gaming in general that I looked to inspiration. I would say my inspiration largely comes off of the platform because like, while I do watch a lot of YouTube, I don't watch a lot of gaming YouTube. I don't watch a lot of speed runs. I don't watch like I watch a lot of sports stuff. I watch a lot of science stuff, but really I don't know. To me, watching game videos and watching live streams just something that I've kind of lost interest in from when I was in high school and college. So for me, the biggest inspiration is for sure my educational experience and games done quick. And I'll talk about games done quick first, because that I guess is what got me into the type of content I make. Is because when I would stream my speedruns on Twitch, I started doing a thing where, like, to me, back in the day, and maybe it's kind of to this point where I don't see it this way anymore because forest for the trees. I'm now in the speedrunning community. GDQ means something different to me than it used to. But as an outsider, games done quick to me was a time of year when you got to watch a ton of speedruns and people got to explain the speedruns. And before like 2017, that was like kind of an uncommon thing to have speedruns play out in real time and have them explained. If you wanted to like see the explanation for a speedrun, you'd have to read guides online. You would have to watch extensive tutorials. There wasn't kind of a compressed, at least as far as I'm aware. There could be channels out there that exist that I completely flew under my radar, but as far as I saw, the only time where I got to see where I was able to like able to watch a speed run, just the speed run, and have things explained to me as it was happening was games done quick. And I always loved that idea of being able to take in a speed run and understand semi what's going on while you watch it for the first time. So what I would do is when I was streaming on Twitch, I would do speed runs. And once a stream, maybe once every couple streams, we would do what we called a heavy commentary stream where chat would request it. And then I would do the speed run as if I was doing it at GDQ and just kind of explain the speed run as I did it, as I did the run. And like eventually I got like one or two records while I was doing that specific type of run, and they like did well on YouTube. And I saw like, oh, this is kind of a something that people like as well, like as in addition to how I liked it. And for me, Games Done Quick was the big inspiration, and that did eventually lead to the Speedrun Explained series and the type of content I make today. So that's kind of like how I went down the rabbit hole. But as far as the way that I structure my videos, I would say for sure. So I have a background in engineering, and I did a lot of writing in college for that. A lot of writing, like every year, multiple 70-page reports, and all very technical writing. And I developed a very technical writing style and a very technical way of presenting information. I think of concepts as a pyramid, with the bottom layer being kind of like a food pyramid. The bottom layer is the biggest, has the most basic things in it. Like, hey, in this game you can jump. Hey, in this game you can also walk into walls and like this, and like you combine things and it gets to like more higher tier ideas, higher level ideas and whatnot like that. And that's a mentality of thinking that I developed over time through engineering and my technical writing and also tutoring. And just I found that thinking about things in that way was the easiest way for me to convey information to people who were unfamiliar with the subject. And like I said, I tutored, and I found that that's the best way to teach people. I love teaching people. That kind of shows in my YouTube channel. But yeah, it's just a combination of like all those different things, like my technical writing skills that I developed in college, and the way I think about things with teaching people. That's kind of just how I structure my scripts. Then is I think of it as if I were tutoring someone on the speed run. I don't think of it necessarily as making a video, like making a speedrun video is making like an educational video about the speedrun, making a tutoring video about the speedrun. That's kind of like the inspiration I take for formatting my videos, and then that plays into editing. Edit it to make sure that things are conveyed that build that like feed into that pyramid working towards the higher level ideas, you know? I hope that made sense.
In journalism, there is a metaphor, might be the way to say it. It's called the inverted pyramid, where the bottom of the pyramid is where you start. What is the most newsworthy info? This evening, at about 9:30 p.m. at Ford's Theater, the president, while sitting in his box with Mrs. Lincoln, Mrs. Harris, and Major Rathburn, was shot by an assassin who suddenly entered the box and approached the president from behind. Right? Like, perfect. That's the where you have to start. Now you can go ahead and tell people what happened. And you can give more detail, right? You can give the important details, and then you can give general background information. President Lincoln was in his second term. He had served through the duration of the American Civil War. Blah blah. And so it's really like it's how I learned how to write stuff too. The only difference is that we turn the pyramid upside down. It's the same exact thing that you're talking about, right?
Mhm.
And one of the things that I tell people, and this again, it's really hard to explain, but when I am editing, if I close my eyes and I'm listening to the VO, because obviously we work as a team, the script gets done, the VO is recorded. By the time I get it recorded and edited, it's already been edited 3 times. It's already perfect. It's how it's going to go into the video. I can listen to it and know when the cuts are, right? I can just close my eyes and be like, cut, cut,
Mhm.
cut. Like just as CC's talking, I'm like, this is where we have to go. This is what we show here. Okay. And I don't have to look. I just know when all the cuts are. We also do a lot of preparation. Like there's a great bit from The Simpsons about this. There's an episode, it's the same episode, it's Pray Anything. Season 14, episode 10. I can't
You
believe
were
it's coming
planning this,
back.
weren't you?
I know, right? I wish. I wish I were that clever. And it's we're going live with Arnie Pie in the sky. And how are people dealing with the loss of their church? And he starts freaking out. He's like, I see a slow news day with nothing to fill it. And he's like, Arnie, you're supposed to be filming people coping with the loss of their church. He goes, and how am I supposed to do that, Ken? Do I have a magic lens that stares into people's souls? Well, yours would be black, Kent. Black is the ace of spades. And then it goes off the air. But it's true. How do you show people coping with the loss of their church? What is that? Right? And that's a line that can be thrown out, and you're like, well, what do we do? I remember one time I was sent to cover a story about an event. We had no footage. It was an ambitious event. It was gonna be the first year, and I was sent on location to cover an event that was canceled. The event was canceled. I got there and there was nothing. You know why? Because there was no event, because they canceled it. So I took a photo of the empty field and came back and was like, what did you want? They didn't do it. So we ended up using some archive photo of like a similar event. I'm like, what do you want from me for the Italian festival if they cancel it? I can't,
Oh,
I
man.
can't,
You missed
you know
out
what
on
I
the
mean?
Italian festival?
I know. We had the garlic
Dude,
festival
those
though.
those
So
slap. Those are
they're
fun.
they're pretty cool. They're pretty cool. We have a bunch of ethno themed festivals at that time of year. So it's okay, but it's like that. Like sometimes you get to something, and I like I said, I'm wondering if you have this problem. Obviously, you have much more control over your whole creative process.
Well, for the most part, I do have like I collaborate with the runners in each video, so they have a say as well. But
Yeah, of
like,
course.
I'm the only one in the room editing. I'm the only one in the room while the script is being written. I'm the only one in the room while I'm recording audio. So like I do struggle at times having things to show. For example, today, like I was actually working on a video, and I had a line that was kind of an example of like this happens because of this, but sometimes this might happen. But there's no footage of that. We don't have any footage of that. So I'm trying to think because I'm trying to think what I ended up doing. I think in that specific case, I just cut the line. Like you were talking about, if like sometimes you'll just cut the line.
Hmm.
Sometimes if because like in that specific example that I encountered earlier today, it wasn't information that was necessary for for the
Hmm.
speed run. Um, Sometimes though there are things that I do feel are important to include that I don't have anything to show for, and in those cases I'll just kind of like leave a gap between footage, and whatever I had up on the screen just stays on the screen while I talk about, because I have no clue what else to put there. Like that is a very that isn't a struggle that I relate to a lot on the editing side of things.
Yeah. I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm like, yeah, I've had that exact problem, exactly as you describe it. There was a trick in one of the videos, I think it was Jack, where they're like, this is the way we used to do it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Do you have video? No. Oh, like there was a trick that was described as task only. Okay, where's the task? We don't have it. And they were so well organized. And ended up asking them, and they really came through with the B roll because they were talking about a lot of stuff in the script. And when we talked to them about the history, they were talking to us about so much stuff that there wasn't an example for them to show us of a run that had record that didn't have the trick being hit because you can't get the record without hitting that trick, that kind of thing.
Mm.
So I wanted to ask you because you mentioned runners, you do collaborate with runners. We do too. And we have a policy that we do not put out a video unless the community tells us they're happy.
Mhm.
And um, I'm curious, and you don't have to mention anyone specifically, but have you ever had a hard time working with a community? Maybe their expectations for what your video would be differed from your own, or usually we find that everyone is really awesome and really helpful and really great to work with. Like, I'm not taking this opportunity to take a stab at anyone that we've worked with before.
Mhm.
However, I've definitely had days where I'm like, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. I've like left calls and been like, all right, I'm gonna go grab a beer out of the fridge.
I understand where you're coming from. I would say for the most part, no, I haven't. Like when I make my videos, I'm working less with the community and more with a specific runner.
Hmm.
I reach out to individual runners, usually world record holders, unless there are people in the community who are top runners who I have had previous interactions with or previous discussions with about making a video. I'll reach out to them instead. But for the most part, reach out to world record holders. Um, in work, I will take a wild stab in the dark and say working with one person is much, and making sure they are happy with the final product, making sure it's a product we're both happy with, that we both put time into, much easier than pleasing an entire community. Just a stab in the just a wild guess. I don't know what makes me
You
say
might
that,
be
but
onto something there. You are a clever man.
yeah. I mean, so there are times where um I will think thing is one way is a better way to approach things, and they will disagree. And pretty much at the end of the day, I'll defer to their judgment, because at the end of the day, they are the expert on these speedruns. They are the ones who have explained these to people in Discords plenty of times. Um, they're the ones with the expertise, and I am consulting with them. They are lending me their knowledge. And for the most part, I'll defer. So like for the most
like, I would say pretty much every time, like, it's been for the better. There are times where they'll say, "Hey, like, what if we word it this way?" And I'll say, like, "Here's what I was going for with this." And usually they'll say, like, "Oh, yeah, that I understand that approach to it as well." And, like, there is an agreement. Um, there was one experience, I will say that this video, like, 0 complaints with I won't say what video it was or who it was or anything, but, there was an experience where I sent, like, just everything's going smoothly, I send it to the runner, and it wasn't the manner of delivery in the video wasn't necessarily what they expected. In my videos, I explain things with a very dry approach. I try to just read the script, um, try to make sure it flows. Don't worry too much about the emotion. For me, that the information is key. Plus, being dry like that adds a lot of opportunities for very dry humor. I
Mhm.
just think it's a combination that works given the subject matter. And they were expecting a approach more akin to how I actually am in conversation. I'm a very passionate person when I talk, especially if you watch my GDQ run. That is a very high energy run, kind of the antithesis of what my normal videos were like. So when I sent it to them, they were kind of taken back, saying, "Whoa, this to me sounds like you aren't enthusiastic about the project we're making." And like I talked to them about it, and they also, after they had sent that initial message, before I even got a chance to respond, they were like, "Okay, I actually see where you're coming from. I see your other projects and whatnot. I understand what you're going for." So there was that one experience. At the end of the day, though, I ended up, once they kind of understood where I was coming from in my delivery, we're both incredibly happy with the video and the reception it got. And yeah, it was. I would say that's the one time that the runner kind of like was, I wouldn't say hesitant because they were still very excited for the video, but just kind of thrown for a loop for a moment. At least as far as
Mhm.
I'm aware, there could have been other times and they just didn't voice themselves they didn't voice that concern to me. But as far as I'm aware, it was that one time, and I totally understand and respect that feeling. I can understand where they were coming from and everything like that. So, but yeah, for the most
Mhm.
part, it's pretty smooth. I'm very happy with all the people that I've worked with. Like, I honestly don't think I would go back and swap out any runners for other people that I've worked with in terms of how well we work together.
Mhm.
Like, the speedrunning community is just such an awesome group of people and just so many good members in it that are just passionate about their speedrun. At the end of the day, like, it's a great outlet being able to make videos on things you're passionate about. So I think for the most part, people are just super willing and super eager to make these videos together.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna tell a story, a speed doc story, probably about my worst experience, but I'm gonna say that everyone that we worked with was a pleasure to work with. I'm not gonna say the video, but everyone that we worked with is a pleasure to work with on that video. If you listen to this and you worked on that video and you know the story, like, this is not directed at anyone that we worked with. We did the video, and there was I'll say he's a prominent figure in speedrunning. And we asked, hey, should this person be here working on the video? And it's like, yeah, they don't really, their impact on this history isn't that big. You already have 15 people working on the video. Like, we had 15 people from the community working on this video. Like, we're like, you can probably skip them. So we didn't interview them. We didn't talk to them really. And we reached out to everyone, and including people that weren't really around anymore. Video comes out, are here the entire time. We literally make a channel in the Discord, and they're there from the time that we're doing our initial research until the time that the video comes out. We keep the channel open that time. We centralize the project. That's where the script goes. They get to read the script ahead of time. We put the shot list in there. They can literally see what I'm going to put at every point. We put graphics in there. Like, no one should be surprised by the time that it comes out, but people usually are. They watch the video. We got a lot of feedback. This is wrong. This is wrong. This isn't right. You put this is, whatever. And we're like, okay, we'll fix it. So before it goes live, we got everyone. We were like, did you get a chance to watch it? Is everything good? Did you like it? Yes, from a dozen people. So, like, okay, cool. It's going to come out tomorrow. Video came out, really well received. We did like a little like live thing. It was fun. Next morning, I got a DM from the prominent runner. Do you not like me or something? You excluded runs from my history. I was the first person to do this trick. I was the first person to do this. You erased me. Why did you do that?" And then we went to the community and said, "Is what happened? What?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, we just thought that you did that, on purpose." Why? Why would you think that? Well, I noticed it. I didn't want to say anything. Why would you think that?
Mm,
Why? What? Okay. And so we're like, "No, we don't hate you." And then the guy didn't get back to us. We're like, "Come on, and we felt bad, but like, it's not like we could do anything. Like, the video's already out, you know."
yeah.
So it was a little disappointing, right? It was a little disappointing. It was a little upsetting. At the end of the day, those situations are going to happen when you're working with that many people, right? No one and not everyone is going to be that helpful. And we put out a retraction in the form of a pinned tweet, a pinned comment on the video, but there really isn't much you can do in terms of retractions or corrections on the platform. So, just one of those unfortunate situations where, you know, someone ended up getting like wiped out of our video, and we did mention them. Don't get me wrong, like they did get mentioned, but not to the degree that they deserved.
Mhm.
And it's like, man, what the hell? So that was my one negative experience. But
Gotcha.
otherwise, I mean, in a dozen videos, that's really good.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's pretty solid, you know? Like one bad experience, or like I guess not even bad. One experience that was a bit more, I want to say troubled, but
A little more in
tumult.
the dramatas, you know?
Yeah. Like for as like the amount of work that goes into all your videos, all the moving parts, like the fact that that's only happened once is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good streak. We'd like to keep it.
Yeah, hopefully so.
Yeah. What do you think is next for you? I know I asked you that the last time. I'm kind of looking at the clock and I don't want to take up your whole night. I know your dog is in dog jail.
Yeah, he's in dog jail right now.
But
I don't know. Like, what's next for me in terms of videos or grand scheme of things on YouTube?
well, are you thinking about getting into new content maybe? Maybe different mediums, you
Um,
know?
Good question. I would say there are some content ideas that I have that I'd like to get into. More so one-off videos that aren't my typical thing, but are still kind of related that I'd like to do. Um, but nothing like immediate, you know? Like, I don't know. I think I got a good thing going right now. I'm working out, just working out some kinks in my production process, trying to make things get a little smoother. And I feel like I really haven't even, I don't want to say arrived to where I want to be with Speedrun Explained series, but I feel like
Mm,
I'm still improving. I still feel like I'm not to where I think and I know I could be in terms of my rate of production, my quality of production, just constantly working on myself and trying to make each video better than the last, learning from each video. So I don't know. I like what I got going on. I don't have any immediate plans or big things to change anything up majorly. Just right now, I think, yeah, I got a good thing going. I have content that I really enjoy making, which I think is the most important thing. um, I myself don't watch any of my videos, aside from one preview watch.
same here.
Um, yeah, I'm happy with the content. I get a lot of gratification and every like out of finishing a video, and just it's an incredibly cathartic process for me, and it's just something I love doing and want to
Mhm.
continue doing, like exactly what I'm doing right now, the Speedrun Explains. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a video or two thrown in the next year or two that aren't Speedrun Explains.
Mm,
As for other media, like I'm pretty happy with the medium that is YouTube. Like the format that I have going on.
yeah.
As for like a possibility of like podcasts and stuff like that, right now, not looking to get into that game anytime soon outside of being guest spots on things.
Wink, wink.
Um, yeah. I would, yeah, but I don't know. Like, I don't know. I would say right now, I'm just pretty happy with where we're at, and just rather than looking to expand or increase the scope of the TomatoAnus brand, just hone my craft. I'd say that's what I want to focus on.
How far do you think you're gonna get until someone is like, "Man, you really can't ride anus any farther." You know,
I
like
don't know. I think at this point, like I have a talent agent for YouTube who helped me secure sponsorships, and like I don't know. At this point, I think having anus in my name is no longer a hurdle. I don't think it really ever was.
mm,
Um, but yeah, no, I think that the name is here to stay.
they're not gonna put anus on the side of a bus.
Oh, you'd be surprised. Everyone has a price.
I love it. You're just gonna throw money at the problem. I'll show CJ. I'll get anus on the side
Exactly.
of a bus. Yeah. I just someone told me that everyone's getting an agent now. Everyone's got an agent. Everyone's getting an agent. I was
Mhm.
talking to someone and then they were like, "Yeah, I got my agent and he told me I should start doing GTA RP streams." I'm like, "Is that what you want to do?" And he's like, "Well, I'm gonna try it." I'm like, man, it's such a departure.
Yeah.
I don't know if you thought about this, TomatoAnus, but your brand would really grow if you did Minecraft and Roblox videos.
Oh gosh. See, that's the one thing I'm so thankful for with the person who I have as my agent. He and I have just an incredibly strong working relationship. He
Yeah.
like would never tell me what type of content to make or suggest a certain type of content to make. He fully supports what I do and the decisions I make. It's as long as we communicate clearly with timelines for when videos were coming out, things are good. I could not be more thankful for the person who I have as an agent.
I know that the search is going to be, like Star Search. Ed McMahon's going to be going knocking on doors. It's a big check and everything. But I'm sitting here, I'm telling you, like, I have potential. I got nothing but
Mm,
upshot.
I don't know. I'm looking at your volume of work, and what do you have? Like 45 episodes of speed? I don't know. I need to see 3,000 episodes in the podcast backlog before I even consider you to have any experience.
I'm trying to think of how long I'd have to release an episode every single day for 10 years. I know you'd probably let me in at 9, right? Because it's like
They better get
9:50.
recording.
Yeah, I better get started. I don't even know if there's 3,000 speedrunners that I want to talk to.
Oh God, probably not.
I started dipping back into the pool at 45. No, so, I mean, no, there's plenty of new people I want to talk to. Thank you to everyone, by the way, that voted in the poll, but thank you to everyone at Estat who donated a total of 375,000 channel points to get Speedrun Insider All Stars.
Wow.
So, yeah, people really wanted the All Stars show to come back, or to show up. They wanted to hear some of their favorite guests come back. We put out the poll for the subscribers and everyone that had the role. And it ended up being really good. And
I
I'm
mean,
excited.
just wait until you start putting out episodes with guests that people really want on, as opposed to TomatoAnus.
My man, you won the poll.
I feel like there was some flubbed vote counting there.
You think that I
There's
had
no
my thumb
way.
on the scale? Is this what I'm
Yeah,
being accused of?
exactly.
Those cops, they always got their thumb on the scale. 1 gram becomes 2 pounds. You know how it is.
Exactly.
As for what the future holds for both of us, who knows? I am really excited about going into more live event stuff as we have been doing more and more of that. Maybe one day, I know this is crazy. Maybe one day I'll stop editing videos. I'll just do live events. Wouldn't that be something?
Whoa, that's a world I'm not sure I want to live in.
It's a world where I think my hair will go gray, but at least it won't fall out.
Hey, as long as you don't dye it and put it into a weird bowl cut like Ken Burns.
It's the best part is it's not even a bowl cut. Like it's so bizarre to
It's its own thing.
explain.
It really is.
Yeah. Anyone that's listening to this right now, pause the podcast, go Google Ken Burns, right? So And obviously, he would look good. He kind of looks like he could do the Willie Nelson, right? He'd go from the redheaded stranger to like the salt, right? Like the salt and pepper, and then go full gray. But it's got so you have bangs, right? He's got bangs. It kind of looks like somebody in 2020 said, "Can you give me the John Lennon?" And the barber didn't know who John Lennon was.
Oh my god, it
I
does
got a
look like.
snort out of it.
Oh my god, dude, it does look like a weird Beatles cut.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And what's weird is because his mustache and his beard and his eyebrows are light, he kind of looks like he doesn't have any.
Who? Ken or
Ken Burns.
John Lennon?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
John, not John. No.
Yeah, no,
John doesn't look
I
like
definitely
anything
see
these
that.
days.
That's true. No, I definitely see that. I would just say he has a very unique look.
He does have a very unique look. Speaking of people that are dead, I just wanted to mention this. I know you have a propensity and a taste for dry humor. Did you see that Norm Macdonald had passed away?
I did. When I read the headline, I audibly said, "What?"
Yeah. Something.
Yeah. Yeah,
Really.
it's definitely was not expecting to read that when I woke up. He um someone who always pushed the boundaries, tried different things, and just like there was a clip circulating on Twitter of him, and I watched it. I'm like, man, that is gold. And it was someone he was talking. He had a podcast, I think, and he was talking to a guest, and he's like, we should go kill Hitler or something like that. He's like, Hitler died like 50 years ago, and he goes, oh, I didn't know he was sick. And to me, that's just incredible. Like that kind of humor is just right up my alley, and that's what Norm was. That was
Mhm.
that kind of joke is just the embodiment of his sense of humor.
Everyone probably knows Norm if you're casually interested in comedy. You might know him from the Celebrity Jeopardy skits on SNL with Will Ferrell and is it something Hammond, Daniel Hammond, right? And as Sean Connery, and he played Burt Reynolds. And his
Mhm.
Burt Reynolds is just Norm Macdonald with a mustache. But it's Burt Reynolds. It's so
It's
funny.
so
It's
good.
so funny. There's there's two jokes I love. One of them is gonna push the scales, but because we're gonna honor Norm Macdonald, I'll say it. And the other one was in the Celebrity Jeopardy. I think Jimmy Fallon was in that one as French Stewart. And they're going through the categories, and it's a petit déjeuner, and he goes, give me ape tit for 100. It's like, it's not ape tit. Yeah, sure, whatever.
Oh my god. Yeah.
It is the most direct delivery I've ever seen. It's the best Cosby joke that I've seen. Apart from Eddie Murphy being like, "Who is America's dad now?" Right?
Mhm.
They're in the car and they're driving to the coffee as they do. It's comedians in cars getting coffee. Seinfeld's driving, and Norm goes, comedian Patton Oswalt there. He said that the worst part about the Cosby thing was the hypocrisy of it all. And I disagreed. And Seinfeld parks the car and park, and he looks at him and he goes, "You disagreed with that?" Now they're in this tiny fucking car, and Norm is like 6'4", and he's all this like tiny bunched up in this car, and he's leaned all the way back, and he goes, "Yeah, I thought the worst part about the Cosby thing was the raping. As it is my experience, most rapists are hypocrites." It made a lot of them go, "Well, it's not politically correct, but I just love it." Right? And it's so like, how do you make that joke? And he made the joke and it worked. And if you're listening to this and you're like, wow, CJ, you that was awful, I'm telling you, go look it up. It was great. Right? Just, it is so dry. It's like rye sandwich. It's like a roast beef on rye with no mayo and no water. But it's so
Yeah,
good.
he is something special. The world
definitely missing out on someone with his type of delivery. It was something.
Yeah. So on that note, because I wanted to mention Norm Macdonald as your delivery sometimes reminds me of Norm. Thank you.
That's a huge compliment. I'll take that. Thank you.
Hey, listen. Thank you so much, TomatoAnus, for being on the show. Thank you. If you want to support my guest today, you can go to youtube.com/TomatoAnus, which I believe is your vanity URL.
That is my
it right
vanity
now.
URL.
It
Wow, what a
is.
stab in the dark.
Hey, listen. You can follow him on Twitter at TomatoAnus. And you can find him on speedrun.com. That's speedrun.com/user/TomatoAnus and twitch.tv. You already know what it is. /TomatoAnus. TomatoAnus. Spelled the same way for all 4 URLs. Thank you again for being on the show. It was a pleasure. I hope that we have you back on again soon.
Yeah.
Everyone who listens to the show, supports the show, doing all the things that you do, just keep doing the things that you do. We can keep the podcast free and clear of outside influence and appeasing algorithms, which we never want to do. So, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.